I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome here, everyone. And at this time, I'd like to give the opening to Councillor Steinbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steinbach has a rich history of people, places, and events and stories over the last 150 years. I've always been fascinated about where, why, and who has placed us here. My neighbor, Phyllis Taves, and her sister, Verna Thiessen, shared the story that I have shared many times about their grandmother, Anna Barkman, who, around 1906, planted the crabapple tree on the corner of Barkman and Elmdale. But fewer remember Anna Barkman's husband, Jacob D. Barkman, who played a role in Steinbach's history. Recently, Phyllis and Verna shared his written story. It was 172 typed pages of his story. So here's just a few highlights of Jacob D. Barkman. He was born April 23, 1886 in Haboden in the family home. Haboden was located east and north of current-day High Life feed mill located on Highway 52 West. Jacob never attended public school as they could not afford the cost of schooling. His mother, who immigrated in 1876, had been trained as a school teacher in Russia and homeschooled her children in the German language using the Bible as the textbook. Jacob's father became sick with tuberculosis. So in 1893, they sold their dairy farm and they moved to a grain farm just south of Steinbach. Now at the age of 7, he would finally see the village of Steinbach he had heard so much about, but he had never seen in person. With his father sick, too sick to farm, Jacob's brother became the man in charge at the age of 17, and they worked the farm. And they bought, the farm they bought had a large barn. It was 24 by 40, but a very small home. And for the first 6 months that first winter, they lived in with the original homeowner, a renter. 18 people in all lived in a small house over the winter months that was just over 500 square feet. By 1905, Jacob dreamed of getting married and being on his own. Having no money, he couldn't ask a young lady to marry him, but he did have his eye on a certain Anna. And he needed to have a wedding gift before he could ask to marry her. He asked his mother for money. She gave him $1. Jacob put on his best Sunday suit, walked 2 miles to Steinbach, bought her a black headscarf for 90 cents. That left him 10 cents to start his married life with. They were engaged one Sunday and married 7 days later following the Sunday morning service. One of his first jobs was to haul lumber from Giroux to Steinbach. Pay was $1.50 per trip with the oxen, and they would bring lumber back from Giroux to Steinbach. They bought a house at 395 Main Street, located on the corner of Main and Barkman. The lot was from Main and went all the way past the creek to the back lane, which is the north side of today's outdoor skating rink. In 1911, Jacob started work as a steam plant engineer at the Steinbach Flour Mills located on Mill Street, which is today First Street. The flour mill was located directly behind what is today's Shoppers Drug Mart location. Pay was $30 per month plus $8 overtime, and he was required to work 6 days per week. The steam plant provided electricity to the flour mill and the homes and light to the homes in the surrounding areas. Jacob worked at this job for 28 years. Twice in those 28 years, the mill burnt down, and twice a new sawmill was bought elsewhere and moved to Steinbach. Each time Jacob was hired to move the mill and continue to operate the steam plant. By 1938, there were 3 steam plants in Steinbach selling electricity to homes and businesses. In 1938, disgruntled home and business owners, they were not happy with the cost of the hydro that they were being charged. They approached the Manitoba Power Commission, which is today's Manitoba Hydro, who then brought electricity to Steinbach and sold it a lot cheaper than the local entrepreneurs had. During his time as a steam plant engineer, he was required to gain his second and third class steam engineer boiler certificates. And due to his lack of schooling, he wrote a letter to a Mr. McGrath of the Manitoba Bureau of Labor explaining his lack of formal education. The department did an on-site inspection for 2 days, and after that they granted him a second class steam engineer certificate. In the late 1920s, Jacob traveled by train to Chicago and attended the University of Chicago, and he obtained his diploma as an electrical engineer. With the Manitoba Power Commission supplying hydropower, Jacob lost his employment. He then started a blacksmith shop in his backyard in a building that was 6 feet by 8 feet, an old summer kitchen. In 1959, Mr. A.K. Penner from Blue North came to his shop and wanted his mower sharpened, and it was agreed with discussions that they would swap. Jacob would give A.K. Penner half of his lot. In exchange, A.K. Penners would build him a new house. And so a house was built on the north side of the creek where the outdoor skating rink stands today. And the next year, Jacob needed an even larger shop to go with his new house, and he again approached A.K. Penner, and they came to another agreement. They traded him another piece of land, and he got a brand new shop. In his shop, he would sharpen real lawnmowers. These are the push mowers from the old days. We didn't have gas mowers then. And other small items. He estimated he sharpened about 3,500 reel mowers and 32,000 saw blades for the local people. In March of 1967, Jacob D. Barkman was honored as a citizen of Steinbach by the Carillon News. The weekly honor was to salute citizens who had contributed much to Steinbach, and he certainly had, working in the steam plants. It was noted that he read the entire Bible at least 47 times and could read it in English, German, or Dutch. Jacob and Anna had 7 boys and 7 girls, all lived to retirement age. 6 of the 7 boys served Canada in the Second World War, and they all came home. Mr. Barkman passed away in October of 1971, living his whole life, his whole married life, on the same lot just off of Main Street and Barkman. But he was a big part of who we are as a community of Steinbach. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Siemens. Council, we have the agenda in front of us, looking for a motion to adopt. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Hebert. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We have the minutes of December 19th, 2024, regular council meeting. We've all had a chance to review, looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Swagstra. Any comments?
No comments.
Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Okay, seeing none. We have Councillor Jake Hebert missing today. He's working on city business at MA this evening. Looking for a motion to excuse him. Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Hebert. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, Council, we're a little bit past 7:35, so we'll go directly into the public hearings. We got 6A, which is bylaw 2238. This is a rezoning, 600 Main Street. At this time, I will close the council meeting, open the public hearing. And Mr. Workening, could you please introduce this file?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With your permission, I would also recommend that I introduce the related variance file along with this rezoning application.
That would be 6B, variance 2023-23.
That's correct.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Very well. Firstly, the application for rezoning under bylaw 2238 is being applied for and with the property also being owned by Helmut and Irene Buchholz for a property located at 600 Main Street in Steinbach. Purpose of bylaw 2238 is to rezone the subject parcel from RLD residential low density to RMD residential medium density to permit the construction of a sixplex on the property. Secondly, public notice was also issued for variance V-2023-23. The applicants and property owners are also Helmut and Irene Buchholz. Purpose of the variance application is to permit an overall site width of 70 feet, whereas the RMD residential medium density zone requires a minimum overall site width of 75 feet. Notices as are required under the Planning Act have been issued. Other than a letter from Community Planning, there is no written correspondence on file. And comments from Community Planning Office indicates no concerns with the proposed bylaw. With respect to this application, as mentioned, the proposal is to develop a 6-unit multifamily residential structure on the site. And if council chooses to proceed with the approval of this bylaw, it would also prompt the further review under the city's infill multifamily development policy. As I also mentioned, this public hearing is being held in concurrence with application for variance file, as the site width of the subject property is slightly more narrow than what the city's zoning bylaw requires. Recommendation from administration for zoning bylaw 2238 is that, subject to any new information that may be provided at the public hearing, that council give this bylaw second and third readings subject to a development agreement. And with respect to the proposed variance application, that subject to any new information that council, should it choose to approve zoning bylaw 2238, that council then proceed to approve the proposed variance application.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Orkney. Just for clarification, we can do second and third reading on the rezoning and then go to the variance?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, we will start with, we'll look at the second reading, start with the variance, or the rezoning. The variance and rezoning are tied together, but we'll do them one at a time. Okay, is the applicant here tonight? Do you wish to speak? Okay, take the podium, state your name and address, and then go ahead.
My name is Helmut Buchholz. I live just outside of Steinbach. This property we attended about 4 years ago, and we were thinking of building a duplex there, since it's rezoning allowed for a duplex. And then I thought how rapidly Steinbach is growing. Probably in a few years, this side by side with duplex would look as odd at this house as of a property right now would look, because in a few years, most likely it will be surrounded by multifamily units, since Steinbach is growing so rapidly. After submitting multiple different site plans with assistance of Steinbach Engineer and Development Department, we have found a plan for that particular property would work very good. Together, we were able to address parking, garbage pickup, and drainage questions successfully. As for the property width, our building is very compact and is barely bigger than a side-by-side house would be, allowing the side property of 8 feet on each side. That being said, this modern-looking, high-efficiency, and high-quality building, in my opinion, would be perfect fit for Main Street.
Okay, thank you. Just 1 minute. Councilor, any questions for the applicant? Okay, no, you can go and sit down. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone here with comments, questions, or objections to this file? Go ahead, take the podium.
I'm Phil Kalita from 445 Mackenzie. I've seen a lot of Helmut's developments in the past, and they're great. So as long as he's doing the building, I've got no question or concerns that it won't look good and be a good building. My concern is from a community perspective, and with the sixplex, most of that area right now is duplexes or single family, and I think the sixplex is going to be a little aggressive and maybe not fit in that area. A fourplex I'd have no problem with. Secondary concern is the back lane. The access to the back lane. There's a number of multifamily units in that neighborhood, and the back lane being undeveloped has become quite a heavily traveled, more than it's designed for, and a lot of these multifamily units end up, while they have some parking in the front, the back ends up being secondary parking. They're just driving on the grass or into the backyard. So the back lane becomes heavily traveled. So If the rezoning were to be approved, whether it's a sixplex or a fourplex, I just like to see something included or written in there, conditional, to prevent the back lane being used for parking or secondary access. And that could be as simply as by having a fence, like a 6-foot fence or something, installed in the backyard, and that would prevent vehicles from having direct access to the backyard from the back lane. I'd be totally fine with that. That would show intent that they're controlling the parking, and all the vehicle access will be from Main Street. So with that, I think otherwise, like I said, Helmut, I know, does a great job, so I think it'll work out good. So, but I think 6 may be a little aggressive here when you consider how the rest of the neighborhood is developed right now. But 4 would be fine. I'd be okay with 4, because there are a number of duplexes that are fourplexes right now in the neighborhood. So I would consider that fitting in, although it'd be officially zoned for it. So, yeah. So I think that's the only concern I would have, is the back lane access, and the fence would, if you could add that in if it gets approved as a condition of the property, I'd be fine with that. And as long as Helmut's the one that's building it, no problem.
I have a question for you,
Yep.
Mr. Kalita. So would you be, if the fence would be a condition, you have a lot of faith, it sounds like, in Helmut and his building.
Yep.
Would you agree to, like, you're okay with the 6 if there would be a fence to limit backyard parking? I know you said.
I would still
you
be
said
concerned.
4.
I would still be concerned for the neighborhood, but it wouldn't affect me directly if it were to be a 6. The fence would protect me or my direct concerns with that back lane access. Yeah.
Okay. So then, yeah, so then your biggest concern is the undeveloped back lane and the extra traffic.
Yep.
And your solution you see would be a fence to
That would prevent the vehicles
any
from
parking.
entering the lot from the rear, yes. Yeah.
okay? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Kalina? I see none, so. Okay, is there anyone else with questions, comments, or objections to this file? Okay, state your name and address.
My name is Harry Wilkins. I live at 401 Walnut Street. I just wanted to address some of the concerns. I believe that the building being located on Main Street, in its nature, addresses some of the concerns, because if you are living closer to where you need to get to for your day-to-day activities, assuming you don't work in somewhere like Winnipeg or outside of a several-mile radius, you wouldn't need access to a vehicle in the first place, because if you only need a car to go to your local grocery, then why wouldn't you just walk if you're on Main Street already? Unless, obviously, it gets cold sometimes, but there are other forms of transportation as well. And in regards to it being a sixplex, with Canada's current immigration system, the federal government seems to be relying fairly heavily on immigration for its plans going forward. I think it would be, we would be remiss not to address that today, while we have a chance to start zoning for a few more high residential areas within the neighborhood before it becomes a problem in the future. Like, the housing crisis already, as it stands today, is a fairly big problem throughout the country. That's about all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here, or anyone else here with comments, questions, or objections to this file? I will ask one more time. Is there anyone here with comments, questions, or objections to this file? Okay, I will ask Mr. Helmut, would you want to answer or rebuttal some of the questions that were asked you by Mr. Kalita? Yeah.
This building is 6 apartments, and it's only 2-bedroom apartments. So basically, it's not really like family housing, or not a big family housing. So I'm thinking that won't be a lot of more people actually on that property. Because if you consider bigger side-by-side or a fourplex with more units, it could potentially have room for way more people. So that's one of the things I would say. There will be barely more people than in a duplex. Regarding fence, yes, I agree 100%. Even like to protect their own backyard from being driven on fence, and because the drainage will go from back lane to front, there is no problem at all to erect the fence. So that I would totally consider, yes. So yeah, I would still prefer not to, like you mentioned, not to waste a lot, not to waste the room, and would prefer to build a 6-plex if possible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, I will close the public hearing, open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councilor Susan Penner,
Motion to approve.
second by Councilor Hebert. Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a really good plan for the area and for the property. There are numerous higher density buildings in that area. As I drove by, I noticed that. So I think this is a really good fit. It's on Main Street. It's kind of a buffer to the residential behind it. So it just makes sense that we, as was mentioned, that we maximize the space to get these units on there. And I think it is a good fit for the neighborhood.
Anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll agree with Councillor Benner. There's also a large lot across the road from there. It's going to probably get a multi-family complex as well, so which will add another one. And I think this area will be pretty decent for this, so yeah, I would approve.
Anything further from council? Anything in closing?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment regarding the fence. I don't think it's necessary to add the fence. If traffic is an issue from the back lane, there could be bollards, there could be shrubs, there could be different ways to address that. Instead of requiring a fence, I prefer personally to make things less difficult, for properties to get developed. So I do think there are other ways that fence portion could be addressed as well. So I don't want to include that as a requirement.
Thank you. Well, council, I will also approve this this motion. I think it's a good fit for the neighborhood, and I do believe that the neighborhood is going to evolve into more and more multifamily as we go along. That's what we are seeing with infill in the older areas of our community. We're seeing more and more infill as we go along. I actually, why I called Helmut Bolcox back is to see if he was okay with some mitigation in the backyard. I'm not hung on a fence as well. Shrubs or trees or something that would mitigate people from parking, I'm okay. I would rather leave that to you and the neighborhood to figure that out. But I thank you for your agreement to make sure that there be some buffer that will keep cars from parking there. So that was, I appreciate that. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, council, we'll go directly into third reading. Looking for a motion to approve. Councillor Siemens, second by Councillor Swagstra. Any comments?
No, sir.
Anything further? Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, as was introduced, we will go directly into the variance. That is V-2023-23. This is also for 600 Main Street. Now we're talking about the variance. That is the fact that the lot is, I believe, 5 feet too short, too small. It needs to be 75 feet and it's 70 feet. So at this time, we'll close the council meeting, open the public hearing. And the applicant is here. Do you want to speak to the variance? You don't have to, but
Like I said before, the house is 52 feet wide. It's basically allows for side property line 8 feet. Most houses have just 4 feet side lane. So this is a very compact building. I don't think it, and it's allowed us for proper drainage, the side property line. So that's
okay. So just for clarification, even though the lot's only, it's 5 feet too short or too narrow, you have figured out a plan where you've got ample room for drainage, plus you are twice as far away from the neighboring house as you are required to be.
exactly.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here with comments, questions, or objections to the variance? I will ask again, is there anyone here with comments, questions, or objections to the variance? I will ask one more time. Is there anyone here with comments, questions, or objections to the variance? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Pinner?
Motion to approve.
Second by Councillor Swacer. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Variances are taken on a case-by-case basis, and this is a case where we have an existing lot that is 70 feet wide. Normally, we prefer to see a 75-foot on a new build, and there would be no variance required there, but being as this is an existing lot and there's no objections from the neighborhood, I don't see any reason why we can't move forward with this variance application.
Thank you. Anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Approving the rezoning without approving the variance wouldn't make any sense. So of course we have to do the variance.
Anything further of council? Anything closing?
It makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Council Swacer is right, but Council Pinner is right too. And I do believe we have a developer here that's worked very hard on this lot to make sure this lot's going to work. And so I will approve, I will also approve this, this motion. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. We'll go to 6C. This is bylaw 2020 or 2237. This is public reserve closing, referring to Wyndham Estate Drive. It starts on page 35 in our agenda. And Mr. Workning, could you please introduce this file?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and for members of council. Proposed bylaw 2237 is a bylaw proposing the closing of an existing public reserve. The public reserve is vested through the city of Steinbach, and the applicant for the public reserve closing is Stonebridge Development Corporation. The purpose of the bylaw is to, as I mentioned, to close a portion of the public reserve to permit the creation of an additional residential lot on the east side of Wyndham Estate Drive. Notices, as are required under the Planning Act, have been issued. There are 2 items of correspondence that have been received on the file for which council has received copies. With respect to the application, this public reserve parcel that is subject to the proposed bylaw was originally created as part of the previous phase of Hampton Village development, created under subdivision file 451-2021-8433. As part of the last phase, the developer was required to put in a temporary turnaround, which deemed 3 of the lots on the original phase as not developable until such time as the final road plan was able to be constructed. As a result, the developer had made the request to close a portion of the existing public reserve and convert it to a building lot. With respect to this particular public reserve land, this was land that was originally donated to the city of Steinbach by said developer. And in respect of the public reserve land, the original donation of land was in excess of what the city requires for residential development. And in connection with this proposed closing of the public reserve, the original donation of the public green space would still exceed what the city's minimum requirements are. Therefore, as a result of administration's review, recommendation is for council to give this bylaw both second and third reading, subject to any new evidence provided, and also subject to the approval and registration of subdivision 451-2023-8865.
Thank you, Mr. Whitney. Okay, I just have to excuse myself for a minute. The deputy will take over from.
All right, we're going to continue with the public hearing. Is the applicant here? I'll ask again, is the applicant here? Okay, seeing not, then is there anyone who has any questions, comments, or objections to this, this file? Yeah, please take the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everyone. My name is Don Maximchuk. I live at 117 Wyndham Estates Drive. And I guess the question would be, what is the purpose of doing this? How would this benefit the city of Steinbach?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or objections? I'll ask again. Any other questions, comments, or objections? One more time. Any questions, comments, or objections? Seeing none, I am going to close the public hearing and open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Or are there any further questions for?
Do we want to answer his question?
Sure. Just in response to your question, the applicant is seeking to develop an additional residential lot. So it's not specifically for the city of Steinbach. It's so there can be an additional residential lot there. Sorry, I didn't directly answer before. Yeah, sorry, if you're going to continue, I'm going to have you go back to the podium because it's all recorded. So if you want to say anything else, you're welcome to come back on up and further. Yeah.
Thanks for the answer. So this is not necessarily to benefit the city of Steinbach and the people living in it. This is to benefit the developer.
Well, it's an application from the developer, and so the developer wishes to do some development. So this is not initiated by the city of Steinbach, and so this is an application by the developer. And so in terms of what the benefit to the city of Steinbach would be, there'd be an additional residential lot that someone could purchase and live in.
Generate taxes, yeah. So. Okay, so does, I don't understand exactly why then the change. So what has happened between initially when this was zoned public access to now? What has changed?
Okay. Mr. Workington, I got to get you to just to clarify, there was a requirement that at the initial part of the development of the temporary turn, could you just restate that in terms of the reason, because there's a requirement for that to be blocked off for that period of time. If you could just explain that again.
I can try to. I don't have all of the files for the previous subdivision that are at my fingertips, but to try and put it simply, the original subdivision that this developer had originally applied for had indicated a certain number of total lots to be developed, and I believe it was 31. After the subdivision had proceeded and the developer had completed design and was ready to proceed with construction, it was determined that required temporary turnaround, which is needed for sections of development that are going to have an incompleted turnaround just due to the configuration. The developer had anticipated that it would be able to secure that permission from a neighboring landowner to install a temporary turnaround to facilitate the city's requirements. That arrangement was not able to be concluded, and as a result, the developer had to convert land affecting 3 of the originally proposed lots as a temporary turnaround, and as a result, those 3 lots were no longer able to be developed until such time as the next phase of development would occur. As a result, the developer made the request to convert original public reserve land that it had donated to the city and requested that the city reconsider that a portion of it be converted back to a developable lot. And this is the result of the proposed development or the proposed public reserve closing.
Okay. I know it's a little complicated and a few things there along the way, but there are reasons behind it.
So is this benefiting the people in the city of Steinbach, or is this benefiting the developer? 2 questions.
Well, that's getting, in terms of asking me directly, that's getting into my opinion, and that's what we're going to be voting on. We're going to be voting on whether we approve of this or not. But just to be clear, whenever a developer makes an application, we then evaluate, does it make sense or does it not? I will note that in terms of the amount of green space that's required, there is still more green space than what is actually required by city bylaws, even with this becoming the additional lot. So in terms of green space, there is still more than what's the minimum being required.
Okay. And so this one more lot that's being developed, it does not take that development over a threshold that was never to be crossed, or has that threshold been crossed?
No, I'll just quote in terms of the information provided our staff, where it says here, over the course of the multiple phases of this development, the developer has provided more public green space than the city required pursuant to the city's development policies. The proposed public reserve closing would not affect its uses or the public drain presently located on the land.
Right. So not so much the public drain or the usage, but the access, because right now, the way it is, that whole development, that whole new development is being accessed on a road that I think is almost being overwhelmed by the traffic. And I think this came up a year or 2 ago, and I think that's a concern of mine, is this one more lot going to put this development one more lot over the proposed or the allowable lots being accessed by one access point?
Okay.
That's my question.
Okay. So are you officially, just so I have it on the record, are you officially objecting to the?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
oh yeah.
And just your name again, it's Don?
Don Maximchuk, M-A-K.
M-A-K.
S-Y-M.
S-Y-M.
C-H-U-K.
Maximchuk?
Maximchuk, exactly. Very good.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anyone else who has any questions, comments, or objections? Yep, go ahead and take the podium. Reintroduce yourself.
Bill Kalita from Mackenzie Avenue. Just one question. Is that existing lot already serviced, or does it have to be serviced now with sewer and water?
I'm going to redirect that question to administration.
I am not certain what the status of the servicing is, but if the lot is approved to be created, which is a file that is on council's agenda subsequent to this particular file, then the lot would require standard servicing that every other residential lot does.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the only concern is then you have to disrupt pretty well a brand-new road to do all that, so.
Okay.
And Don's question on the access was also interesting. I know in the past, we've had a cap on 120 units being accessed with a single roadway, so I'm not sure how many lots are in there now, but that's sort of the number, Don, that it was 120. it used to be. I don't know what it is now, what the standards are now, but,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Workington, do you happen to know, are we above a cap?
No, my understanding is this, again, because 3 of the previously approved lots are not developable until a future phase is approved. The addition of this lot will not add to the existing lot count that is approved for development
Okay, thank you.
on a net basis.
Okay. Anyone else? Comments, questions, or objections? Or a question to administration? Councillor Penner.
Through you. So initially, or in the notes, it says that that was a turnaround. The public reserve was a turnaround. Is there a drain on there as well? Or like, out of curiosity, why aren't all 3 of those lots then potentially being developed if it was just a temporary?
The temporary turnaround is to the extreme north end of that original subdivision. I'm not aware that there is any documentation within council's agenda package that actually shows where the temporary turnaround is to be located. So no, this particular parcel of public reserve land has nothing to do with the temporary turnaround.
Is there a drain on there?
There is an existing
so it
drain
needs
on
to
that
keep-
piece of land.
Okay,
That's right.
got it. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Then at this point, I will close the public hearing and reopen the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Siemens.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hebert. Councillor Siemens, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. This is a file that is before us. I had some concerns here, but and I'll explain those shortly, but I think this is correct. As we heard, the developer had to secure extra lots for a turnaround, and so now he's asking for some of that back, and he's still over the requirement of how much reserve land he has to hand over to the city for green space for city development. This is also a main drain for the Deerfield drain goes through here. One of my concerns was whether we had enough room for our future active transportation route, and there is. There still allows lots of space for that. So I think this will not impede any of the public access to active transportation on the road, but also working together with the developer that we give him back some of the land that he overstated in his initial ask.
Okay. Councillor Hebert.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I think Councillor Siemens has pretty well said it all, and I'm in favor of this.
Anything further from council? Anything in closing, Councillor Siemens?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, council, we have before us the request for the public reserve closing, and I just want to state my appreciation to the neighborhood for taking the time to come or to write us letters and to ask questions. These are good questions, and it's good for us to reflect on this. I agree with the motion that this is a reasonable request. As has been noted, there is more green space being provided than what was required, and this will not have any negative impact on the public drain. It will not affect in that regard. Also important to note that that we're talking about one lot here. And what is the benefit overall? Well, the benefit is that there is an additional lot and there is an additional housing that can go there, and we need more housing in Steinbach. It's been a consistent theme that we've heard, and I think it makes sense to go along with that. So I will vote in favor of the motion. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Then that is carried. I'll turn the meeting back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. Okay, moving on, we will move to 6D. This is Conditional Use CU. Mr. Workington is gone, so, because he'll be introducing this. You know what?
For the, for bylaw 2237, the public reserve closing, I believe that was the second reading there.
Oh, there's a second reading on the,
But council likes to-
Oh, we have to do third reading on that yet.
oh, okay, we'll go back, okay, good. It's my fault for stepping out. Okay, so we're doing third reading of bylaw 2237. This is the public reserve closing. Okay, looking for a motion for third reading.
Do it again.
Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Siemens. Any comments?
Nothing further.
Any further? Call for the question. All those in favor of third reading? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we now will move down to 6D. This is Conditional Use CU-2023-02. This is referring to 45 Tower Avenue. At this time, I will close the council meeting, open the public hearing. Mr. Worthing, could you please introduce this file?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Similarly to the first public hearing, I would request your permission to introduce, there's two separate files for which there's a concurrent public hearing for 45 Tower Avenue. That's CU-2023-02, and also variance file V-2023-25.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Very well. Thank you. This is the introduction for both conditional use file CU-2023-02 and variance application file V-2023-25, both applying to 45 Tower Avenue in Steinbach. The owner of the property is 7155248 Manitoba Ltd., with the applicant for the conditional use and the variance being Shivdeep Sandhu. Purpose of the conditional use application is to permit the operation of a freight or truck yard on the subject property. Purpose of the variance application is to permit barbed wire atop a fence in the M1 light industrial zone, whereas Steinbach zoning bylaw 2100 only permits barbed wire atop fences in the M2 heavy industrial zone. Notices as required under the Planning Act have been issued. There are approximately 17 pieces of correspondence that have been received earlier today and over the previous several days, for which council has received copies of separately in their mail bins. And with respect to these two files, firstly, for conditional use file 2023-02, as I mentioned, the application is to permit the operation of a freight or truck yard on the subject property. And just for background, this parcel of land forms part of the Steinbach or the Hespeler Industrial Park, which was developed by the city in the mid-1990s. Since the development of the industrial park, what was previously vacant agricultural land to both the north and the east of the subject property has been converted to residential uses. And since the initial development of the residential uses began next to the industrial park, a 50-foot wide plan of works was created as a land buffer to mitigate potential incompatibilities between the neighborhoods. And recommendation from administration is that council approve conditional use files CU-2023-02, subject to any new evidence presented at this public hearing. And secondly, application for variance file V-2023-25. This particular application does seek approval for barbed wire to be placed atop an existing fence in the M1 light industrial zone. The applicant has provided information for council to consider with respect to this application. It does appear that fencing for the lot with the barbed wire atop it has already been installed. There is a precedent on file that City Council previously considered, which is referred to as file V-2007-23, dealt with in 2007. The application sought approval to permit a barbed wire fence, barbed wire atop a fence in the C2 Central Commercial Zone when it was not permitted pursuant to the Steinbach zoning bylaw at the time. However, at the time of approval, barbed wire atop a fence was permitted in the C3 Highway Commercial Zone, and the application was approved by Council Resolution R07-281. Recommendation from administration for the variance application is that council approve the application subject to any new evidence presented at this hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Workney. Is the applicant here today? Do you wish to speak? These are two public hearings. We're going to take the conditional use first, so we'll be talking about the conditional use. So we'll be talking about the trucking outfit first. So you can gladly take the podium and speak to your, the freight yard.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shivdeep. I live in town here in Steinbach at 10 Castle Rock Cove. I'm currently operating a trucking business since 2015. I came in Steinbach in 2012, and I drove for Big Freight and became an owner-op after. I started my own business in 2015, and ever since, I'm operating from my basement. And we have a yard at 47 Keating Road right now. So we bought this land from the city in a hope of getting a yard built there a couple of years ago. And the main purpose is to just build, we have 20 trucks and just want to build our own yard and have our own shop to repair our trucks and everything, and maybe create more jobs here. And that's everything. Thank you.
Okay. Council, are there any questions for the applicant? Councilor Penner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the comments that has come up to me as people in the neighborhood have been talking about it is that, I guess, asking for forgiveness instead of permission, that the barbed wire, which is, I guess, the next one, but that one up before getting approval, that you're starting to excavate and develop the land before having the conditional use. I'm just wondering if you could comment on why you didn't, maybe even when you bought the property, look into that to see if it would be approved for that, or why it's been going ahead with it without the conditional use being approved.
Ma'am, I just want to ask, are you talking about the barbed wire?
Pardon me?
Barbed wire or a yard?
Conditional use, but it applies to both because the barbed wire is up already, even though it wasn't approved. And I noticed that excavating starting on the property, but the conditional use hasn't been given yet.
Ma'am, I was only 22 years old when I came here. And I'm sorry about that because I should have known the rules and everything. I was not aware. I should have known that. That's my mistake. I take that responsibility. Only since we bought the land through Mr. Waldo, Century 21, and in our condition, we put up a trucking yard, truck wash, and some hotel use for later on, and some other, and we thought we had a mutual understanding about it. So, but for the barbed wire and for the pre-development, I was lesser known about it. I'm really sorry about that. I would just say that.
Thank you.
Just a further question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So are you saying then that you only became aware of the need for a conditional use after you had already started development?
Yes.
How did you become aware?
I put up an application at SCU because we do banking with them, and they had a Red River appraise that land. And they emailed me about that I should have a conditional use application before do I have that? Then I emailed Lacey in the office, and then I came to know that I have to do that.
Okay, thank you.
So you found out through an outside source, you found out through Lacey Godet that you had to have the conditional use?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions, council? Okay, you can sit down. Is there anyone here with questions, comments, or objection to this file? Okay, you were first, and then everyone will get a chance to speak. Yeah.
My name is Harry Wilkins. I've already spoken.
Can you restate your name, please?
Harry Wilkins from Walnut Street. I have a feeling most of the people who are here to speak about the barbed wire actually have a different concern. It's my understanding that this property is within relatively close proximity to a school. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
I originally come from America, and in America, after the post-war era, when they started development of their highways, they quite frequently ran them through lower-income neighborhoods to displace African-American families. After that, we implemented a lot of scientific studies, and the EPA claims that, according to the National Institute of Health in America today, that there is provable scientific evidence that having children located within 200 meters of a highway leads to an increase in asthma and cardiac and pulmonary issues. So my question is, if this truck yard is within 200 meters of the school, I'm not sure if it is or not, how would we secure the air quality for the children to make sure they're not developing symptoms from the air pollution of the car exhaust?
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Dennis Bisodny, and I live at 59 Winston Place. I'm not sure if this is the right time to say this or not, but here goes. Our backyard is basically touching the open field that extends to Tower Road. We are separated by a sidewalk and a chain link fence, and of course, the open field then goes to Tower Road. So here's the problem. Apparently, a trucking company wants to set up a shop in the open field, which I just found out. I worked for a trucking company for almost 50 years, and I know how those trucking yards work. There are bright lights all over the place. Semi-trucks are always moving trailers day and night. I'm not sure how big their trucking company is. If it's 30 trucks, it's probably not as much. It gets quite noisy, which is close to residential area. And worst of all is the dust created by the tractors and trailers. It can look like a desert storm. And of course, these yards are never paved, and I don't blame them for not paving them because it's far too expensive. It would cost them millions of dollars to do that. So plus, what happens to the property value of my house? We've been living in this house for 10 months. This is kind of like our retirement home now. So bottom line here is that we object to a trucking company setting up right behind my backyard. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, take the podium.
Hi, my name is Gilles Perron. I live at 114 Creekside Drive. This property is directly in contact with my backyard.
145 Creek?
114.
114. Okay.
So this property, I guess, butts up to my backyard. I have a concern about the water quality. Like, everybody on our street is on wells. All our wells are close to the backyard, which is close to the ditch, which all the runoff water goes into, which is very close to our wells. The city used to dump their snow dump there. I had asked the city kindly, can you guys just dump it a little further away or somewhere else? I have a $5,000 water treatment system already in my house to try to clean up my water, which is ridiculous. So I do object to this trucking company being here. Light pollution, noise pollution. What happens if a truck has a big spill? I'm very concerned about again, water quality. I'm also concerned about the walking path to the middle school, which is right beside the trucking company, and fences and locks only keep out honest people. I'm not saying anybody bad currently would work there or something, but the world's gone crazy, and My concern is that if somebody would take a kid, throw him in the truck, it'd be hours before anybody noticed, and the kid could be in another province by the time anybody noticed, and that, to me, that's concerning.
Okay.
I think trucking companies should be out of town. And I deal with enough dust and problems as is.
Okay, well, everything's been noted. Thank you very much. And is there anyone else? Yeah.
Hi there, my name is Jeremy Levesque. I live in 18 Aston Cove. My backyard directly touches the path as well. I did write a letter earlier, and I'm not great at winging it. Do you mind if I read my letter?
Go ahead, yes, please.
So I wasn't prepared, I was kind of just going to watch, but I'd like this on file. Dear Steinbach City Council, we write to express our strong objection to proposal conditions and the variance. There are several reasons why we know this will not be the best interest for the community. Property value. The development is in the final phase of construction, with homeowners having significant personal investments into their homes. This variance would decrease the property values. This includes every home in Deerfield, Wyndham development, both current and upcoming. This type of business does not belong near a development, school, walking path that the city of Steinbach and residents of Steinbach have already invested so much money in. Noise and hours of operation. While we understand this is zoned as light industrial, there's nothing light about the noise that will surely come from this company. We have close family, my father-in-law and mother-in-law both work in the trucking industry, that know firsthand, we know firsthand it is more common than not that noise starts at 5 a.m. throughout the entire day, if not 24 hours a day. City noise bylaw states that residents such as me can only use power tools, snow blowers, and cut our lawn in between hours outside of 10 and 7 a.m. By allowing this company to move in, you're giving them the right to do business all hours of the day and night, 50 feet away from my home where I can't do this. Personally speaking, we are expecting our first child in April. This is the last thing we need is excessive noise coming from our area. I've talked to many, many neighbors. Many young families feel the same way. Safety and traffic. This is an area surrounding by family homes, many children using the walking path and proposed area to get to school and playgrounds. Even with a fence separating the path from the working yard, safety is a huge concern. Hespeler is already a very busy street with the Clear Spring Middle School, and adding more traffic and large vehicles will certainly make the walk and drive to school more dangerous, not to mention backed up. City's investments. The proposition also affects the city investments. Steinbach has spent a lot of money building a beautiful elementary school and walking path in this area. The noise will surely affect the school, whether it's during class time, recess, or outdoor activities. The city also invested walking paths that people all over in Steinbach use. A fence was built and trees are planted to dress it up and keep it clean. This type of business will come with added dust, debris, and surely an eyesore for anyone using this path. This includes the barbed wire atop the newly fenced area. The city of Steinbach has done a wonderful job making our area a beautiful place to live in and raise a family. We all chose to invest our hard-earned money to live in this area, mainly because of the location, wonderful school, and great walking path. This property was purchased knowing that it did not meet the guidelines it needed to run, rather is asking us residents to compromise our investments rather than buying a property that would be fitted for their needs. For these reasons, we strongly disagree and object. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else with comments? Okay.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Unger. I live at 75 Winston Place. My backyard backs right onto the sidewalk as well. I basically just wanted to come up here and second everyone else's concerns that have been expressed already. We've thought of these same concerns. Another major one of mine is I have a 7-year-old that I'd love to walk to school. I know it's a very busy street already, and we've been practicing safety and stuff, but we all know kids can see a squirrel and run after it across the street. So my concern is just semi-trucks. There's more blind spots. They're bigger vehicles. If there was an incident there, it'd be catastrophic. Another one of my concerns is it is a beautiful area, and I had high hopes that maybe the light industrial might turn into a light commercial for some but long down the road, potential grocery store or something like that, for the Deerfield people, they can easily access via walking paths that section. And I feel like it could be so much more better utilized as opposed to industrial. I think that's it. Everything else has been expressed by everyone else.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, again, my name is Don Maximchuk, 117 Wyndham Estates Drive. So I'm not that well prepared for this meeting. I was only made aware of it by an email earlier today. But I came here because I wanted to see what was going on and to give my 2 cents for whatever that's worth. So we moved here from Clearwater Bay, Ontario 3 years ago. It's a fabulous community with all kinds of good things. And one thing I don't understand is well, there's a few points to this. So how will this benefit the city, and how will it benefit the people of Steinbach? I don't understand why a company that is going to put up a big yard, and whether they have 20 trucks or 30 trucks or 50 trucks, it's going to grow most likely. So how would they do this in ignorance of the law, or just go ahead and do this without going through the proper investigation to find out if this is even zoned for the type of business they're planning to do? And then go ahead and put up a fence that contravenes some sort of a bylaw. And this is all, I think, offensive. It should be offensive to the people of Steinbach and the people of the council, because this is a great community. And we as a community don't need to buckle or compensate or make concessions in our lives and in our businesses because of some company that doesn't do their proper due diligence. I never considered the consequences of the water quality that Gilles brought up, but it makes sense to me. This was zoned a certain way for a certain reason that the city had put together, and I understand that things change. But is this in the best interests of the city? I don't know. It doesn't appear to me that it is. The traffic, somebody brought up the traffic. Sure, this is a trucking company that's going to have big trucks and people with lots on their mind, maybe long days. And I would hate to be the person with anything to do with approving something that ended up long-term having horrible consequences. And I'm talking about a bad accident with a child. The noise and the disruption to life in a residential area, well, that doesn't make sense neither, I don't think. So all of these things, I don't see any pluses to this. You've got a company, hardworking, great entrepreneurial people putting together a business and driving, but don't just jump into a great community that has taken 100 or plus years to put together and think, I'm just going to plant this here and we'll worry about the details later. I don't see that. I don't see how the city would allow this to allow itself and the citizens of Steinbach to be subjected to this without proper forethought and due diligence. That's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else with comments, questions, or objections?
Hi there, I'm Carolyn Weeb. I live at 12 Creekside Place. We lived in Deerfield area for the last 21 years. We moved there because it was nice and quiet. It was smaller at that time, but we have grown. Our neighbors all love each other. We're a little community there. However, our kids use that sidewalk, and for the safety of our kids, I think, like with the middle school there, crossing the street, the safety of our kids are a huge concern, as well as the noise. Like with WS being there right now, the noise is ongoing and it's very loud there. So to add on a trucking company, I think that's just, it's just not feasible. I think there's other great lots in Steinbach for commercial trucking places that would be feasible for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else with comments, questions, or objections?
I would like to know what they're talking about by washing trucks. Is that like a hog? You guys haul hogs or what?
Yeah, we'll be bringing back Shivdip later.
Okay, and
He can answer that question.
also, as far as the dust is pretty bad when the city was filling up that lot to bring it up 2 or 3 feet. The dust was so bad, my kids, I couldn't let them play outside. They were choking from the dust and asthma. I had to wash my house down and my patio furniture down daily because the dust is just ridiculous there with the gravel and not being paved.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question to administration.
okay, go ahead.
Thank you, through you.
Yeah.
There's been Mr. Workington, there's been a couple references with regards to dust. Would this conditional use and the existing yard be required to be hard topped, or would it be acceptable to have gravel?
Generally, the only areas of development or yards related to development that are required to be hard surfaced would be the required parking stalls. I believe in the set of site plans that the applicant has provided, it does indicate on those site plans the portion of that area to be hard surfaced. However, my understanding of the general yard that is to be available for the movement and storage of trucks and trailers would be gravel surface.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a question while we're talking to administration? Through you, I just wanted to ask about the traffic. My understanding is, just based on the truck routes in the city, that the traffic would be on the number 12 and on the number 52, that Hespeler and like Lone Boulevard would not be used. Is that correct? In terms of the truck traffic?
Yes, generally that is correct. Only the access to this particular property would only be provided along Life Sciences Parkway, Tower Avenue, and then trucks would be required to access it only from PTH 52, and as that is a designated truck route.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing further? Then there's
I'm Kaylee Dick. I live at 80 Creekside Drive, and I just agree with all the sentiments that have been said already in regards to, well, everything. The dust, the lights, I hadn't even thought of the water. I'm not sure how that gets affected by that. But yeah, our property is like right back to this property, and I mean, we all knew when we built the house, right? Like, this is industrial area. And, but I think there's a lot of concern in this type of a business to be there. Just what was said already before. Again, yeah, with noise and lights and just the safety of kids on the sidewalk. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Harry Wilkins from Walnut Street. I'd just like to say that I think everyone's made great points so far, but even if some of these concerns were addressed through things like hard topping and as opposed to gravel, or addressing the water concerns, putting up a fence or paving the street still doesn't address the concerns of the car exhaust fumes being within reach of the children's lungs. I would like to know how that is planned on being addressed should this project proceed. I just wanted to reiterate that.
Okay.
I got one more comment too. I noticed the
The,
city of Stein,
Can you restate your name?
Gilles Perron, 114 Creekside Drive.
Okay.
Another comment though, I do love living in the city of Steinbach. You guys take very good pride in your city. It's clean. I love living here. My kids love it. You guys take great pride in your main street in Steinbach. Every year you guys are always fixing it, doing asphalt or, concrete repairs to it. This would add a great deal of heavy traffic on Main Street, and it would cost you guys way more money to maintain that Main Street.
Okay. Is there anything further? Anyone else with comments, questions, or objections?
Could I just ask one more question? To administration, the zoning isn't changing on the property, is my understanding. This is a conditional use. My question is, what kind of businesses would be able to go on that property without actually a conditional use? Are there similar uses that would, be similar but actually wouldn't require conditional use? Or what are we talking about for light industrial?
I have a long list. Which type would you like?
Okay, well, let's start with something to do
similar?
with vehicles, trucking, busing, something like that.
There is a fairly lengthy list of what are permitted uses in the M1 light industrial zone. But for example, to give you an idea, social services facilities, amusement enterprises, both indoor and outdoor, animal hospitals, research institutions, fuel sales, bus depots, transit stations, contractors' establishments, fleet services, wholesaling, light manufacturing, recycling plant, recycling collection centers, auto parts and supplies, fleet services. Sorry, I think I duplicated one or two, but that gives you an idea.
This is a tough one.
Okay. By fleet services, you'd be relating that to something that we gave a conditional use for North Steinbach? That would be the...
There has been an
International?
application more recently considered by Steinbach Council, and that would have been a fleet services operation, which essentially is a highway tractor dealership that was intending to locate in a C3 highway commercial zone. In that case, fleet services aren't a permitted use, however, are a conditional use in that type of zoning. So in that respect, council did consider a conditional use application and ultimately approved the application.
Okay, is there anyone here with comments, questions, or objections? Yeah. That was Sabrina.
Sabrina Unger, 75 Winston Place. I just wanted to comment, I understand that it is zoned as light industrial, but I also understand zonings do change. Right now, it is a big open space, and this is one small parcel. My concern is in the future, if this gets approved, there's going to be more, and it's just going to become, it potentially could become large industrial, lots of buildings, and it would reduce the possibility of that land being used for something a lot more beneficial for the community. Trucking companies can go basically anywhere. I don't know why they would want to have to drive down Main Street to get to their destination. So I just think that approving this could result in the loss of some future development that would be much more beneficial in that area.
Okay. I do want to just clarify something with you. It's zoned M1.
Yeah.
Which is quite heavy.
Okay.
It's not light industrial. I don't know if you were told it was light industrial, but M1 is a fairly heavy industrial.
Yeah. Sorry, I was made aware that it was light industrial. I think
it's M1. That's what the zoning is. Am I correct, Mr. Orkney?
That is correct.
That's M1. So it's one of M is one of our heavier industrial use like zoning. And M1 would be the lightest of that heavy industrial use.
I see, okay.
Okay?
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, is there anyone else with comments, questions, or objections? I don't want to cut anybody off. Okay?
Has council had a chance to read all the letters that came in today from the public?
Yes, we were here at 6 o'clock reading these letters. Yes, you got it. We got an email that there was correspondence in our mailboxes, and I was here at 6 reading. Yeah, so thank you very much for your letters. I do appreciate the neighborhood for coming out the way you did and representing your neighborhood as you have. At this time, I'd like to call Shiv back and see if you can answer some of these questions that have been brought up.
Yeah, the main questions were about the trucking going in the area that they should not do. We actually will be using 52 to the street that goes straight to our yard. So we are not going beyond any truck routes. As council know that there's a big fines if truck goes on off the roads, and we usually teach our drivers to not obey the rules set by the city. So I won't think so this will affect anybody regarding that area and everything. And we are not using all 22 acres for the trucking yard. It's only 4 acres that we are using. So part of that is hard top and part of that is graveled. So that's, if any other concerns I have missed, I would like to answer that too. We don't haul hogs. We do dry vans and flatbeds. We don't haul hogs. I will not be building any bays right now, and will not be using that. It will be just our own trucks. Like we only have 19, not 30 trucks. So ever since I've been into business, I believe to do whatever I can and not overpower or overgrow anything. So for 8 years, I only had 19 trucks. And my only, again, I want to apologize to Steinbach that I should have known some of the things that I ignored or I was not aware about, I was not taught about, and I apologize for that. And that's the only things I can say.
I do have a question. Do you haul any hazardous goods?
No, sir, we don't.
Okay. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. You said you were only going to be developing the 4 acres.
Yes, sir.
But as you grow, we want to grow business, so then you'll grow to take it all.
But 4 acres, we can park 60 trucks. So we have enough for even if we grow in 10 years. I won't be thinking that 60 truck is an option for us. But for sure, we're gonna build something, as I stated before, will not be a yard, but different developments in there too.
Okay. Anything further? Go ahead.
Another question through you, Mr. Mayor. There was a concern that you're going to have lights on the yard that are going to bother residents. It's going to be loud because you'll be delivering trailers, trucks, traffic, 24 hours a day through, and the dust is also a concern.
Yes, that's what I said, that we will have part of the land with asphalt, and part of it will be it only 4 acres, and then half of that land is already asphalt. So the light concern is we won't have lights all over. It will be 5 lights, 1 in the middle and 4 in the corners. just to give us a light. And the lights will be pointing towards our yard, not people's homes. So we want to light our yard, but not the back side of the back of our yards.
Thank you.
Question through you, Mr. Mayor. Where are these 4 acres located that you're planning on developing?
It's right on the corner, front corner. If you see that lot, there's that Tower Avenue, just on the corner there. Just there. Just on the front,
East side,
like on the front side of the lot, not towards the homes.
Okay, so on Tower Avenue.
Yes.
Okay, anything further? Okay, I guess you can take a seat unless you have anything further to say.
No, thank you, sir.
Okay, council, I will close the public hearing, open the council meeting. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councilor Spacer,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to deny.
do we have a seconder for that? Councilor Penner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When considering an application like this, we obviously have to look at a number of factors. And in terms of our zoning bylaw, there are essentially 3 categories of uses. There's permitted uses, and those are uses that it doesn't come to council at all because we've deemed that that is automatically compatible with the zoning category. And the city manager listed a number of those permitted uses. There are conditional uses, and that's what we're talking about here at council. These are things that council may deem, depending on the circumstances, are appropriate for this for a particular property. And then anything which is not permitted or conditional is just not is not allowed at all. And those would be all that would be everything else. And so why do we have conditional uses? Well, a conditional use is a use that it might be compatible with the land or it might not be. It's a case-by-case circumstance. And so this is an example of one of those case-by-case circumstances. The conditional use request is for a truck yard. And what I have to factor in here is that we've got a situation where we have an industrial property. It is zoned industrial. That is the correct zoning. It is located quite close to residential properties. We've heard from a number of neighbors here, both in the letters and also in person, expressing significant concerns about the compatibility of this particular use with the neighborhood nearby. And when you factor that in, that you have a bunch of residences that are nearby, that makes it a higher bar in my mind in terms of approving a conditional use. And I've heard some concerns in regards to noise and traffic and the lights and all that sort of thing that make me question whether this should be approved in this circumstance. And so this would be a different conversation if this property was located farther away from a residential neighborhood, and if you didn't have those compatibility issues. And so when we're considering, and as far as the issue, the argument that's been raised or that's been brought up is that, well, there's other uses that are permitted that could potentially have an equal impact in the neighborhood. Clearly, they're not exactly the same impact, because otherwise, when we created the zoning bylaw, we would have made this a permitted use. We didn't. It's been made a conditional use because this is not the same as the other things that were listed by the city manager. In fact, I think it was pretty obvious as we were hearing the list that those things which were being listed would not have the same level of impact as a truck yard would. I'm also concerned about the fact that I have no doubt that the applicant has good intentions. That's not what's in question here. But I have concerns about the fact that development was already proceeding and that the applicant was unaware that a conditional use is even required. And that obviously raises concerns about, if you didn't know that when you're doing the development, when you're doing that in the first place, that raises concerns about what is going to happen next. Is there going to be another city bylaw that the applicant was unaware of and proceeded with development? Because we have both the fact this was moving ahead without the conditional use, and which we'll be talking about later, the barbed wire issue, which went up before coming to council, which that's something that can only happen with the variance. And so again, I understand the applicant wants to proceed with this. I get the reasoning there. I do want the business to be able to go ahead, but I have to factor in neighborhoods as well. And in this case here, this is a conditional use that I don't think is compatible here, so I will be voting, so I think that we should deny the application.
Thank you. Anything further?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. There's not much that I can often add after Councillor Zweigster has had an opportunity to talk, and I agree with much of what he said already. My major concerns, though, is I do believe in the success of businesses, and I believe in the success of growth of businesses. And I feel like Steinbach is a community that many of the residents have said harbors success. And my biggest challenge is that even though Mr. Sadeep has stated that it would be in an area that I would be more leaning towards approval of it being well distanced from the residential areas, as well distanced as it could be from that lot, the whole lot would still be applicable to the conditional use. So there's nothing then at that point holding him from going up all the way to the borders and all the way up to the entire property line, which would then be coming very close. So as Councillor Zweigster said, I do believe he has the best intentions. However, I also believe in the optimism of businesses and Steinbach in particular to grow and go to the borderlines. So for that main reason, I would want to vote to deny this.
Thank you. Anything further, Council? Go ahead, Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I struggle here simply because I'd like to see business moving to Steinbach. We're a growing community, and there is everything that comes to Steinbach comes by truck. And all our business that manufactures leaves by truck. And so if you've bought something in Steinbach, it's arrived by a truck. And this is a trucking company. The problem I have here is when we first heard that there was a trucking company looking at that property, my first question was the amount of truck traffic, additional truck traffic on Main Street, although it won't be as much as what but there will be more truck traffic on Main Street, and trucks generally go south on 12 or north on 12. At times they go west on 52, but generally they're after the #1 highway, they're going south to the border. So then I wondered why exactly this location, and I didn't ask that question, so I don't know why that location specifically was picked, but it was a good deal, I'm assuming. The city had that property for sale since Industrial Pioneering built that lot in 1990, and so it was a sale. But I agree, if although only 4 acres of that property would be used currently, I would expect that a trucking company grows and they will use more of that property. So we're not just approving 4 acres, we're approving the whole 20 acres. So that's a concern that, as was earlier stated as well. So I will vote with the motion, although I know that there's been a lot of work and a lot of effort put in, a lot of costs put in already too, and that's a concern that, but again, I guess that property should have been bought with subject to a variance approval beforehand. But I agree with the residents as well, for the most part. I don't agree with all the comments, but I do appreciate the fact that somebody who's been in the trucking business for 50 years understands that lot, and I'm sure he does. And that had a bearing on my decision as well, but I will vote with the motion as stated.
Thank you. Anything further? Anything in closing?
No.
Well, Council, this is a difficult one because we do want to see business come to our community. We want to see our community grow that way too. And there has been significant dollars invested. I agree with Councillor Siemens. Sometimes it's best to buy properties conditional on the fact that you can get a conditional use or a variance as well. In this case, we've got a very convincing neighborhood. Again, I feel like Councillor Siemens, I don't agree with everything that's said, but there are some key pieces that really stand out to me. I guess, yeah, I think I will, at this time, support the motion as well. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? So that is carried. It is denied. This was, guys, this was a tough decision. It was very, very difficult. It's very, very hard to make this decision. But I think for this moment now, I think with what you brought forward, with what was talked about, I think going forward, this is the best decision for the community in our area at this time. Thank you very much. We should be applauding you guys. Thanks for coming out. Thank you for the kind words you did say about our city. I was very appreciative that you guys do actually, you really love our city and you see the things we're doing to make it a good city. And that happens to attract businesses as well. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Workington, if the conditional use was denied, is the variance something that would need to go through?
It still needs a decision from council.
Okay. Well, there's, I have to excuse myself again, something disagreeing with me.
Yep, I can. Okay, we have the variance, that's variance V-2023-25, and so I will open the public hearing. Mr. Workington, I know that you've already introduced this one as part of the previous one. Do you recommend that we go ahead with having the applicant get a chance to speak and all that? I guess we haven't really spoken on this one, so we should have the applicant come back up if he wishes to do so, or?
No, that's correct. The matter has been introduced, and council may hear from the applicant and any potential interested parties or objectors.
Okay. Then we'll proceed as normal. And then so in regards to the variance, is the applicant here and wishing to speak? Just wait for a second. Is the applicant still here? Okay. We'll just pause for just a moment because we do want to make sure the applicant has an opportunity to speak if he wishes to do so. Not here? Or? Okay, then we'll just proceed without the applicant speaking. Okay, then we'll continue on with the public hearing. Does anyone have, this is just to reiterate, this is in regards to the barbed wire on the property. So it's the same property, but this is a variance that because you can only have barbed wire in a fence if you have a variance from the city. So the applicant does not want to speak. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or objections to this file? Yep, go ahead and take the podium, and you'll have to state your name and address once again.
Jeremy Levesque, 18 Eston Cove.
Yeah.
I think I'm speaking to everyone that said everything from before. I'm assuming we're all objecting on this, just so there's an objection on file.
Yeah, so you are objecting, obviously. Yeah, okay. Is anyone, yeah, go ahead.
Gilles Perron, 114 Creekside, I object as well.
Okay.
Sabrina Unger, 75 Winston Place. I object as well.
Okay. Anyone else?
Carolyn Weeb, 12 Creekside Place. I object as well.
Okay. Anyone else? Asking again, anyone else wish to ask questions or to object? One more time, anyone wishing to bring comment or to object? Okay, seeing none, and that the applicant is still not here to comment on this one, I will close the public hearing and open the council meeting. And so, council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Penner.
Motion to deny.
Motion to deny. Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Councillor Penner. So, Councillor Penner, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. There is a time and a place for security wire, also known as barbed wire. If you're needing it for security purposes, if you're needing it for a deterrent, there's various different reasons why you could, and there are areas where it is allowed. However, in this zoning designation, you need to apply for a variance. be that there is now currently no projected use for that land. I do not see a reason for there to be security fencing on there. And with there being objections from the neighborhood, I feel like it should not be present.
Thank you. Councillor Penner?
Nothing further.
Okay. Anything further from council? Anything in closing?
Nothing further to add.
Okay. Well, again, on this variance here, I'm going to vote in favor of the motion. This is made more difficult by the fact that I recognize that the barbed wire is already there, but that, again, is an example of why it's important to do one's due diligence and come to council, make the application prior to making the installation. And Councillor Penner makes a very good point that that with the property development not proceeding, there really is no need for the barbed wire. And so, therefore, when you factor in the objections as well, and that no reason has been given for needing it at this point, I will have to vote for the motion to deny. Then I will call the question. All those in favor of denying? Opposed? That is carried. We will continue on. Item 7, there are no delegations before council. 8, there are no reports and recommendations from the city manager. We'll go on to 9, administration A, accounts payable. That's at the back of the book. Thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Hebert.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Seconded by Councillor Siemens. This is a difficult one. Councillor Hebert, go ahead.
It's no comment on this one.
Councillor Siemens, anything? Okay, then all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. On we go to 9B, excavator licenses. The reason that we're all here. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Susan Penner.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hebert. Councillor Penner, do you have anything?
Nothing to add.
Nothing. Councillor Hebert?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Then I will call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We go on to 9C. That's business tax and 2023 small balances cancellations. That's on page 68 of our book. Council, can I get a, Mr. Workin, I don't think there's anything we have to introduce on this one. This one's pretty routine, but if there's anything you want to add.
It is a matter of administrative cleanup, and recommendation is that council adopt both resolutions.
Okay. Then, council, can I get a motion on this one? Councillor Siemens.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, seconded by Councillor Damian Penner. Councillor Siemens.
Each year, we have businesses that move or close or for a variety of reasons, and so they get a reduction in their taxes, and this is the reduction in small balances for 2023.
Okay. Councillor Penner, anything to add?
Nothing further to add.
Okay. I'll vote in favor. I couldn't explain it any better than Councillor Siemens did. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 9D, Realty tax cancellations. That's on page 69. Council, can I get a motion? Councillor Susan Penner, motion to approve. And Councillor Hebert, seconds.
More of the same, just housekeeping in terms of.
Okay. Councillor Hebert, anything to add?
Nothing to add.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 9E, building permits up to the end of December. Council, as you can see, we've had an excellent year. Total value of permits, as we'd expected, just over $200 million. In this case, $204 million. Obviously, a lot of that is because of the event center and some other major properties, but there's also, as we see here, a lot of residential and commercial development that's happening in the city of Steinbach. So these are great numbers to see. Council, can I get a motion to approve the building permits reports? Councillor Hebert, seconded by Councillor Damian Penner. Councillor Hebert.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think this is exceptional, like you said, and residential, we got close to $30 million in residential, and the rest would be commercial, which has a total of $204,751,000. An awesome year.
Great. Councillor Penner, anything to add?
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I always like to highlight the fact that we are welcoming families, not just homes to our city, and we added 120 dwelling units this last year. I shouldn't say we, thank you to the developers and those that were building, but there was 120 new families that we get to welcome as Steinbach residents. And so even though we had a bit of a misbalance this year with regards to residential and commercial, which on a 5-year average or so generally averages themselves out, that's still 120 more families into our city. So.
Okay, thank you. Anything further from council? Anything in closing, Councillor Hebert?
Nothing.
Okay, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 9F, resolution from page 71, redesignate tax sale year 2019. Mr. Workington, do you want to briefly explain this one?
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor. This item, item F, and also the next one, item G, these proposed resolutions both relate to the city's tax sale process, which is an annual administrative activity, and recommendation from administration is council approve both proposed resolutions.
Okay. Council, can I get a motion, please? Councillor Siemens, motion to approve.
Approve.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Damien Penner. Councillor Siemens?
How the administration explained it.
Okay. Councillor Penner, anything to add?
I like exactly how Councillor Siemens explained it.
Okay. Probably nothing in closing. I agree also with how administration explained it. So therefore, let's go straight to the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And I'll turn it back over to the mayor on G. Yeah.
Okay, we are on 9G, resolution, reappoint tax sale manager. Mr. Workington, could you please introduce this file?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution relates to the city's annual tax sale process. The previous arrangement subject to council approval was that administration recommends tax service be appointed the manager of the city's annual property tax arrear recovery process.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion from council. Councilor Swagstra?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second by Councilor Hebert. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I haven't made the motion in a while, and what administration said made sense, so let's do it.
Anything further?
Nothing further.
Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 9H, we got resolution 4451-2023-8865. This is referring to Hampton Village. It's on page 73 of our package. Mr. Worthing, could you please introduce this file?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This application for subdivision, file 451-2023-8865, it is related to the previous bylaw that council considered earlier this evening, bylaw 2237, which was respecting the proposed closing of the public reserve. This is the new subdivision application that is being filed by the developer with respect to the particular land in question, which also includes the public reserve land proposed to be closed. Comments received from community planning indicates no provincial concerns. Recommendation from administration is for council to approve this subdivision, subject to the execution of a purchase sale agreement and also of a development agreement.
Okay. Council, how would you like to proceed? Councillor Pinner?
Motion to approve.
Second by Councillor Swagstra. Go ahead, Councillor Pinner.
You know, I don't really have anything to add.
Anything further?
Just thank you, Mr. Mayor. This, obviously, we're approving this subdivision because of the fact that we had allowed for the public reserve closing, and so it makes sense for the subdivision to now be able to proceed with the lot being split.
Okay. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We've got 9I. This is resolution for signing authority referring to the TD Bank. It's on page 109 on our package. Mr. Ordinance believes it's just a matter of housekeeping.
Yes, this particular proposed resolution relates to a debt issue that administration has tentatively proceeded with, subject to final approval by the municipal board. And council has already given that debt borrowing approval via third reading of the bylaw. This is a housekeeping matter related to the account that the city has with TD Canada Trust.
Okay, so we're looking for a resolution from council?
Just to approve, yes.
Just to approve, okay. Looking for Councillor Penner, second by Councillor Siemens. Go ahead, Councillor Penner. Any
Yeah, as the city administrator said, this is a housekeeping issue for signing authority. So it obviously makes sense that we approve this.
Anything further? Councillor Siemens?
Nothing.
Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Got 9J. This is bylaw 2235. This is the public reserve closing referring to 385 Lowen Boulevard. This is first reading. Mr. Worthy, could you please introduce this file?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is more of an administrative process. However, there is a portion of an existing public reserve that is connected with a subdivision that is already proceeding, and it relates to closing a portion of the existing public reserve so that the existing Heritage Parkway may be widened. There is a detailed page that is part of council's agenda package. It is a very small piece of land that is shown in the highlighted portion there of that sketch. It is considered to be part of public reserve, current plan 64165. Recommendation is for council to give this bylaw first reading so that a public hearing may be scheduled in the near future.
Okay, council, would you like to receive or proceed? Councillor Penner,
Motion to approve.
second by Councillor Siemens. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's important that we hear from the public, so we'll approve this so we can go to a public hearing.
Agreed.
Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, moving on. Are there any questions of council today? Okay, seeing none. We've got one item of correspondence. It was 11A. This is the St. Rat River Rosa Watershed District minutes for November 21 and December 7th. It's on page 116. Council, would you like to proceed? Take his information. And there's no other business. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hebert, second by Councillor Penner. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next regular council meeting is